He leads. He made an unbelievable catch. That just might be the play of the year.
All rise. Here comes the judge. The rookie leader in home runs for one season in Major League history.
Big fly for Albert Pujols. Number 600. The ninth man in Major League Baseball history to get to number 600. Bellinger's done it again. The kid takes Andrew Miller deep to break the tie in the 8th inning. Fly ball, deep left field. Way back. Oh, Rockies win. Oh, and by the way, that's a cycle. Walk-off cycle.
Long fly over the bleachers and left. Giancarlo's hit 2 in the game. He's up to 59 on the season.
Hey everyone, welcome to 1225 Live. My name is Alexa Datt. Happy Groundhog Day. I know a lot of people aren't that excited that there are going to be 6 more weeks of winter, but we still have a lot of free agents left on the board, so much to talk about here today on the show. Richard Justice is going to stop by to celebrate Groundhog Day with us. He's also going to talk about one player from specific teams who are going to have a huge impact on that team's potential chances in the playoffs. Like for the Angels, you would assume, oh, it's Shohei Ohtani. Not so fast. Plus, he's going to talk about Michael Brantley and his comeback year, what that's going to mean for the Indians, and a couple of other signings that we could see in the month of February. Back in the day, Barry Bonds was a huge February signing for the Giants. Who could follow in his footsteps? So all that and so much more with Richard Justice in just a little bit. Plus, we have Callie Quinn, the huge Mets fan, who's going to take Mr. Met to prom, joining us in just a little bit, too. We're going to ask her how this all started. She got 500,000 retweets on Twitter, and we'll talk to her about what this all means to her and some of the celebrities that reached out to her on Twitter as well. So thank you so much for joining the show today. It is Friday. And we celebrate Safari Friday here on 1225 Live, where we have tons of animals that have kind of invaded baseball, and we'll share those with you today. Like down to the Red Sox organization during spring training. They got an alligator sighting. Man, check this out. I know there are a lot of alligators in Florida, but not so much when they're playing baseball. The best is Jackie Bradley Jr. just kind of casually responded, like, I hope he picks up the baseballs, cleans up those baseballs when he's done, because I don't know that Florida is a place where Gators should be playing baseball. And then, because of that, MLB was like, well, listen, Cut 4 tweeted that out. The Gators responded, we actually do play baseball, and we're pretty good at it, too. The Gators, with a little bit of a snapback there, it was pretty cool because they are the defending champs. They do know a thing or two about playing some good baseball. I thought that was pretty interesting, the two of them going back and forth. What would you do if there was an alligator in your batting cages? I don't know. I think some people would try and make friends with it. I might run in the opposite direction. So let us know what you think. By the way, despite the amount of big names we have on the free agent market, there have been some big free agent signings in the month of February in the past. Here are some ones that stood out to us. There are obviously several Hall of Famers on this list. Pudge Rodriguez, Jack Morris, Vlad Guerrero. I want to remind you, though, remember the Giants brought back Barry Bonds on February 15th. Back in 2007, he re-signed with the Giants for 1 year, $15.8 million after they finally got that all worked out there. He was 42 years old, 22 homers shy of Hank Aaron's 755. So they finally agreed to this 1 year deal, and then on that fateful night, on August 7th of the season, Barry Bonds went ahead and made history. Homer number 756 goes out deep there to right center at AT&T Park, setting the new record. So you never know what February signings could bring us some good luck throughout the season and maybe break some records as well. So we'll keep our eyes and ears open and fill you in on all of that as the month continues. So because it's Groundhog's Day today, that's where our question of the day leads us. You know what Groundhog Day is. We've seen the movie, Bill Murray. And so we want to ask you, if there's one instance, one game, one maybe fact, one moment in history that you could relive over and over and over again, what would that be? Tell us, let us know, and we'll share that with everyone watching here on the show a little bit later on. All right, we turn our attention right now, though, to Richard Justice, who joins us, and it is Groundhog Day today. Richard, happy Groundhog Day. Is it a happy Groundhog Day or a sad Groundhog Day?
No, it's a happy Groundhog Day for us. We don't believe in all that 6 more weeks of anything. No, we're good to go. Hey, can I tell you an alligator story?
Sure.
Covering the Orioles, early 90s. They had the number 1 pick in the draft in '89. His name was Ben McDonald. People may see him on ESPN now. He does some broadcasting for the Orioles and for ESPN college baseball coverage. He's great. He was a Louisiana kid and pitched at LSU. So Gators did not frighten him. So during the rookie camp, right before the start of spring training, he takes a golf cart out in this complex near Sarasota, Florida, and he gets a baby alligator. A baby alligator being about 3 or 4 feet long. Not what you and I would call a baby alligator. He takes it and puts it in the bathroom where the rookies use, off the showers. And so here are these kids coming in the next day, and there's a gator in there. What struck the Orioles was not, the players are all running around screaming. They called him in and said, Ben, your arm is worth about $100 million. Do you really think you ought to be going out and grabbing alligators? What if something happened? And he said, I've lived with alligators my whole life. They don't scare me. So gators in baseball have a history.
Richard, it was one of my favorite parts of spring training, asking these guys what they did during their downtime. And it was so funny watching these guys come from different backgrounds. Guys saying that they were going to go out golfing and trying to avoid the alligators. Some guys saying they were going fishing. Some guys saying they were going to the spa. So, yeah, these guys coming from different backgrounds, all coming together and, kind of all trying to work together and figure each other out, I think is one of the best things about baseball. But, yeah, gators, man. Gators are crazy. Got to watch out for those gators.
They are. And that leadership thing, that's the thing everybody that played with Vlad Guerrero talked about. They weren't even sure he spoke English or how much English he spoke, but he's the guy that brought the whole clubhouse together. Black players, brown players, old players, young players, they all followed Vlad, and that's one of the reasons so many people are happy that he's going in the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
pretty cool. And he made our list for that February signing, which was pretty important. The fact that he went on and then to call himself a Hall of Famer, and for us to call him a Hall of Famer is pretty important. All right, Richard, we want to go over a couple of stories that you wrote that we found pretty interesting. Some comebacks that we're expecting some players this season to make. Let's start with Michael Brantley. And, he had some injuries over the past couple of seasons that obviously affected him. But if he is to have a comeback year this year with the Indians, what would that mean to this team?
Well, I guess talking to Anthony Castrovince, it was kind of it was not unanimously accepted in Cleveland that the Indians should have picked up his option. Alexa, I think we've forgotten how great the guy was. He was their best player before this great run began 2 years ago, and he was an all-star last year and then was sidelined most of the second half of the season with ankle. The year before, a neck injury. This is a really good guy, and for the Indians to be able to get him back and get the real Michael Brantley back, and he's not an old player, it would be a tremendous boost for a team that's already, they're going to win 90, 100, whatever. But I think for me, for people that know him, teammates, managers, all that, it's just, hey, Michael, come back, be healthy, and be part of all this fun we're having right now.
Sounds good. Yeah. And Richard, one of the biggest stories this offseason has been some of the moves in the NL Central, but the Reds have been kind of widely, set aside, and not many people talking about them. But you mentioned a couple of their guys in the starting rotation and them needing to be healthy in order for the Reds to compete in that division. If you have like a Homer Bailey and he is really healthy, where will the Reds fall in this division? How can they be competitive?
I think it changes the math overall. And when we talk about wild card berths and all of that, we're talking about relative strength of the division. And so now they have Homer Bailey healthy, which hasn't happened for a couple of years. They have Brandon Finnegan healthy, which hasn't happened for a couple of years. And Anthony Scalfellini, who's also healthy. Now, if you take those three guys and you combine those with Robert Stevenson and the guys that have gotten all this experience the last year with all these young players, a guy like Joey Votto in the middle of it all, the gospel that Brian Price has preached all offseason is we've got a chance to take a big step up. And just, for a guy like Homer Bailey, who's had so much trouble staying healthy, same thing with Brandon Finnegan, you want them to be back out there and just to see how interesting it's going to be. The thing about when a team invests in young players and say, we're going to go this route, we've seen it again and again. We saw it with the Astros in 2015. We saw it with the A's in 2012. You don't know how quickly that's going to happen because these young guys get comfortable and your team can take off. So I would say, okay, I understand what everybody's thinking about the NL Central, that there's the big three. There's Milwaukee, there's St. Louis, and there's the Cubbies. But Cincinnati is the team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and they're absolutely going to need comeback seasons from several of these arms in the rotation if they are going to compete. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's talk about Doug Fister, who definitely needs a comeback year, probably needs to regain the form that he had when he was with the Red Sox. Is that possible for him to do this season with the Rangers?
Well, it seemed like he was on the right track. A couple of years ago when he was a free agent, we thought he was going to be one of the top free agent signings, and he had a tough finish. He's had some trouble staying healthy, but he had a great stretch for the Red Sox last season after finally A, getting signed, and B, getting back to the big leagues. And this is what the Rangers have done. They've taken chances on three guys, and basically they're investing their season in three guys. That Doug Fister is going to have a bounce-back season, that Mike Minor is finally healthy and is going to be Mike Minor again, and that Matt Moore is going to be able to rediscover whatever he lost between Tampa Bay, San Francisco, and now in Arlington, Texas. So Doug is a guy that everybody roots for. He's a very cerebral guy. When he and Scherzer and those guys pitched together in Detroit, it was interesting to be around those guys. It was like the graduate school of pitching because they were all smart guys. And I just think Doug's going to figure it out. He's a guy, he's got a relentless work ethic and a relentless curiosity. He is so much, the pitching style is different, but in terms of mental makeup, he's so much like Max Scherzer that let's keep our fingers crossed and hope for good things for Doug.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone loves a comeback story, so we'd love to see comeback stories from all of these guys. Richard, you also wrote about players who can determine their team's playoff spots. Why is it Garrett Richards and not Shohei Ohtani that you believe is going to be a determining factor for the Angels and their postseason run?
I came up with that just by thinking, okay, if you go to every manager, every general manager, and you say, who's one guy that you need a monster season out of, then it changes everything about your club. Well, that's Garrett Richards. Now, you can make the case, okay, what about Andrew Haney? What about Tyler Skaggs? Three guys, three healthy starters now. Three healthy starters with a high ceiling coming off injury seasons. But Alexa, Garrett Richards is a number one. And when he's been good, he has been really good. And these last 2 years have been hard for him. So whatever the Angels are in terms of Ohtani, we're going to figure that out. And the new guys blending in with Mike Trout. If you have that number one guy that takes the ball every fifth day and gives you a chance to win, can go out there 30 times, it puts you on the right road. It gives the team a different mindset. Dozens of things have to fall into place to win a division or to make the playoffs and all of that. But Garrett Richards, and in some of this probably is my bias, just rooting for the guy to finally be healthy again. But he could be the difference between the Angels making the playoffs and missing the playoffs.
All right, how about in San Francisco, where newly acquired Evan Longoria and Andrew McCutchen are not the two that you believe are going to be the pillars to necessarily get this team to the postseason, but you believe that Johnny Cueto could be the tipping factor. Why is that?
Yeah, I believe, okay, Bumgarner, no questions. He's going to be healthy. He's going to stay healthy. He's going to be a little cautious this year. And Samardzija figured it out in the second half last year. When we looked at the Giants on opening day last year, you say, okay, you got Cueto, you got Samardzija, you got Bumgarner, you got a really good rotation. Well, it was a tough year. It was a really tough year for Johnny Cueto. He was late to spring training. His dad was sick, and he had some nagging injuries. And he just never was Johnny Cueto, the guy that we expected to see. And I think, when you look at the forecast, the standings, the data, and all that, they have the Giants taking the biggest leap forward of everybody. And it's not just McCutchen, it's not just Longoria, it's that they're going to have guys with bounce-back seasons. And if you've got Johnny Cueto being Johnny Cueto again, then you've got a front three that I think probably matches up with anybody in the National League.
What do you think about Madison Bumgarner's season? I know hopefully he stays off those dirt bikes, but are we expecting big things out of him?
I think the reason the Giants are not going to rebuild, not even going to take a step back. They were gung-ho, full push to get back to the playoffs this year. No thought of rebuilding. And that's because they have two future Hall of Famers at the height of their career. And that's Madison Bumgarner and Buster Posey. They set the tone for everything. Alexa, this guy might be the most competitive person I've ever been around, and maybe in a tie with Buster Posey. And I think when you have those guys, a leader like that guy, his competitive fire, those guys, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, they'll tell you, you feed off that guy. And that's unusual for a starting pitcher, but that's who he is. He's a big, tough guy who sets a tone for the whole franchise. And I think the Giants are going to be really good this year.
Hey, listen, I feel the same way. As long as Hunter Strickland and Bryce Harper keep them hands to themselves, I'm totally fine with the Giants
Exactly.
doing well this year. All right, with the Brewers, we got Lorenzo Cain and Christian Yelich obviously in the lineup. They're going to be, big impact players. But in terms of rotation, you say that Jimmy Nelson is going to be the tipping point for them to be a postseason team. Why?
Yeah, and I think they're going to acquire maybe at least one more starter. I mean, they are engaged with the Rays on Chris Archer. I don't know if that's going to happen. But those 4 free agents that are out there, Arrieta, Lynn, Darvish, Alex Cobb, they're going to get one of those guys, if not 2 of those guys. They're all in. But Jimmy Nelson's the top of the rotation guy. Part of what happened last year with the Brewers was Zach Davies and Jimmy Nelson and Brent Suter took a big step forward last year. And so Jimmy Nelson's recovering from shoulder surgery. They're not quite sure when he's going to be ready. And I'm thinking if he's back June, July, that's a huge boost in a division that's really close. And, and I'm thinking Milwaukee's been so proactive in the offseason. What impact does this have on the Cubs, the Cardinals? Are the Cardinals now compelled to go out and sign Greg Holland? Are the Cubs going to make a bit more of an effort to go get a starting pitcher? They're already trying to do that. But it's shaping out to be a great division race. And Jimmy Nelson could be that ace card in the hole for the second half of the season.
Yeah, it could be pretty cool. They could be the NL West of this year. We could see 3 teams in the postseason, which would be pretty exciting. All right, you called this in terms of the tipping point for Matt Harvey. This could be a year that really determines what the Mets do in the postseason. So not Noah Syndergaard, not Jacob deGrom, not Steven Matz, but Matt Harvey. Why?
Yeah, I feel like those guys we sort of know, maybe a little less so with Matz, but certainly with Syndergaard and deGrom, we feel like, you've got aces at the front of the rotation. It's time to find out on Matt Harvey. This is his last year. His agent, Scott Boras, says that the ball has been coming out of his hand great. The new Mets manager, Mickey Callaway, has a great reputation for communicating with pitchers, for developing pitchers, for getting through to them. And I'm thinking at this point, Matt Harvey's more coachable than he's ever been. His confidence is probably, I don't know if shattered is the right word, but it's down. We're going to find out who Matt Harvey is this season. And let's just say he can be Matt Harvey again. Maybe not that Matt Harvey who threw 100 and was going to lead the Mets for 10 years or anything like that. Let's just say he's really good, that he lines up with Syndergaard and Matz and deGrom. The Mets are a really good team then, and that changes the math for all the playoff berths in the National League.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll see how that plays out. We got a couple of fan questions for you, Richard, because obviously the fans love you. They love seeing you here on 1225 Live. Michael says, will the Red Sox pull the offer off the table for JD Martinez and go after another bat?
No and no. This is a marriage that has to happen. Don't you feel that way?
Yeah.
That we've talked about it long enough. And if the difference is really 5 years versus 6 years, 7 years, there's no reason this doesn't get done. I mean, this has to get done. And I believe, a player has when you get to free agency, you can test the market. That's what you're supposed to do. But the market tells you what your value is. And I know this market has been disappointing for a lot of players. Teams have been more reluctant than ever before to sign 30-somethings. But this is the offseason JD Martinez had worked his whole career for. And if you got a chance to play for the Red Sox, for a winning team, and the money is 5 years, $125 million, if that's what it is, if that's, I don't know how you could be disappointed with that. And I just think it's going to happen. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but it seems like they are his best option and he is their best option.
Yeah, my only thing is, and I keep going back to it, is the fact that he doesn't want to DH. He wants to play the field. So, why would he want to give that up? Yes,
I think that's it. I mean, just knowing the guy, and players will tell you, especially young players, he's not an old guy, that's a hard thing to deal with. And look, that's what you're going to do. You have gold glove caliber players in center field and right field in Betts and Bradley, and a pretty good player in Benintendi. And JD Martinez. Defense is not his strength. You get him because he hits the ball out of the park. But what are his options? Like I can't. I thought for the whole offseason the Giants were going to sign him, but that's a big outfield they had other options. They wanted to stay under the luxury tax threshold. I can see for the 4 starting pitchers, I can see a multiple choices teams that are gonna go for starting pitching. I don't know what JD Martinez's other option would be now. Toronto, I mean, I haven't heard that mentioned. That would be a logical mention. Colorado, that is a huge outfield to ask him to play. But I feel like this. When you go into free agency, you're putting your ego out there on the line, and you're going to find out what people think of you. And what the Red Sox are saying is, we're your best option, and you, for us, your best option is a designated hitter.
Yeah. All right. We'll have to see how that marriage works or doesn't work in the near future here. All right. One more fan question for you, Richard. Jim wants to know if you're going to watch the Super Bowl and who you're rooting for.
Well, ESPN had a great documentary last night on Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells.
It was so good. It was so good. I didn't want it to end.
No, and there were parts of it where it felt awkward.
Yeah.
Like there were things they wanted to say to each other that they still haven't said.
Yeah.
And the way their relationship has unfolded through the years. For a lot of those years, I covered the Washington Redskins, and so the NFC East was a street fight every week. But yeah, so to answer the question, I like dynasties, and I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to be interested. But if the Patriots win number 6, I wouldn't be disappointed at all.
I 100% agree with you, Richard.
How about
That's
you?
the perfect answer. That's the absolute perfect answer. Well, first of all, I'm a Redskins fan, so I can't root for the Eagles. And I enjoyed the dynasty. I'm having a really fun time watching Belichick and Brady. I know a lot of people, dislike them for various reasons, but for me, this is one of the greatest eras in football history. So I'm having a lot of fun and kind of sitting back and enjoying it.
And let me just say, selfishly, in where I live, my little block here, Danny Amendola's from just right around the corner. I saw him play high school ball. I saw him play college ball at Texas Tech. So we feel like we have a native, one of our sons out there for us. We're very proud of him.
There you go.
He seems to have done okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, anytime you can have a personal connection to somebody getting a ring, it means a little bit more. All right, Richard, enjoy the Super Bowl and your weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
You too, Alexa. Thank you.
All right, like we mentioned, it's Groundhog Day, so we want to ask you if there was one moment in baseball history that you could relive over and over and over again. Maybe one that you sit on your couch on a Saturday and just watch over and over and over again. It's on your DVR. Let us know, and we'll share those with everyone at the end of the show. All right, our next guest took the internet by storm with one direct message on Twitter to her favorite team. Callie Quinn, who is a junior from Staten Island, sent a message to the Mets. She's a huge Mets fan, and she asked the Mets if she could take pictures, her prom pictures, at Citi Field. The Mets responded by saying, sure, you totally can come, but all you need to do is get 500,000 retweets on Twitter. Well, she did it. She did it with some help from some celebrities, but she pulled it off. And the best part was the Mets held up their end of the bargain and then some by bringing Mr. Met to her high school and surprising her with one very important question. Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and meet the Mets. Swing your games, swing your life. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets. Callie, congratulations. That video is so awesome. I love watching you be surprised by Mr. Met. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell me first, how excited were you when this all went down, and where did this come from the beginning?
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on here. And this whole thing, it just kind of started out of nowhere. It was crazy. I just kind of DM'd the Mets, and I was like, hey, guys, I don't have a prom date, so what are you guys going to do about it? And then this whole thing happened, and I mean, I guess it ends with me getting surprised by Mr. Met, so.
The craziest part about this whole thing is that it's a pretty unlikely scenario. Did you dream that in a million years this would be the case?
I never thought that this would ever happen to me. I just thought, what's the harm in DMing them? And this whole thing happened. So
yeah, it's so crazy. We're showing your DM right now, and basically the Mets were 100% on board because you're like, I'm not too far from Queens. So they asked you to get 500,000 retweets, which seems like a lot. When you first saw that number, were you like, yeah, I could do this, no problem, or this is going to be a tall order?
The first time they sent it, I just kind of was in such shock that they answered me that I was like, 500,000, that's no problem. And then after I tweeted it, I was like, wait, 500,000 is 500,000. Like, that's so many. And then everyone just kind of started supporting it and coming around it. So now 500,000 doesn't seem like such a big number.
Yeah, of course. Brush your shoulder off right after you get it done. It's like, yeah, no big deal. So what were your friends saying as this whole thing was going on?
My friends were all crazy supportive. They all loved this idea because all my friends are Mets fans. Got to surround myself with Mets fans. So they all loved it. They all texted all their friends, their family, shared it on every social media they have to repost it. And they all love it. They all think it's a great idea.
I'm telling you, when I have a good video that I post on Twitter, I'm checking my phone nonstop to see how many retweets I get. How often were you checking your phone and, literally checking the status of this tweet?
I was checking my phone nonstop. I was always on my phone. I had school off that whole week, so I was lucky that I could stay home and just focus on the whole social media thing. I had a big party with my family, and everyone was out dancing and on the dance floor and everything. And I'm sitting in the corner on my phone on the charger. Like, I wonder how many retweets I'm at now.
That's so funny. And your whole family was gathered around the phone? Was everyone checking? I mean, did you have push notifications on? Was your phone like buzzing in your pocket this whole time?
Gosh, I had to turn the push notifications off because there were so many of them. My family totally loved it. We were all together and they were like, we're not leaving the party until you get to 100,000. So I ended up reaching 100,000 that night and everyone was excited. We were all yelling and super, just going insane. And we were all, so excited about reaching that milestone. I was glad I was with my family so we could all be there together.
Wow. And then you did it 5 times over. That is super impressive. Who's the celebrity that stands out to you? Because I know a bunch have reached out to you and retweeted this. Who's the one that you were like, man, that's pretty cool?
Well, I was so grateful about William Shatner retweeting it because he did so much for this whole cause. He was quote tweeting it, retweeting it, having all of his followers retweet it so many times. And he did so much for this. I'm so grateful to have had him help me with this.
Did you know who William Shatner was when he first sent you this?
I did know who William Shatner was. My dad is a big comic book fan and Star Trek and Star Wars, so I've grown up hearing about William Shatner. So
Good
I knew
for
all
you.
about him. I was like, there's no way that he just retweeted this. I was like, this huge superstar is retweeting my tweet.
That's amazing because I feel like a lot of people your age might not know who he is, so they might have to Google and not really get the full effect or the full enjoyment that he reached out to you. So that's pretty awesome. I know that a couple of players also either reached out to you. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about it. Who'd you hear from?
Noah Syndergaard, number one, who is like, I love him. Michael Conforto, so I was freaking out about that because I love him. Jerry Blevins, Josh Smoker, Matt Reynolds, TJ Rivera and his wife both retweeted it, so that was awesome. Chase and Bradford, Kevin McGowan, just all these people, and I was so happy.
My gosh, that's incredible. You're going down the list of all these guys that I've covered, and they're all amazing people, so I'm glad that they were able to reach out to you. So when you go to Citi Field on May 18th, is there one player, if you could only pick one player to take prom photos with, who would you pick?
Oh my gosh, that's such a loaded question because I love all of them. But, I mean, I love Noah Syndergaard. I've loved him since the beginning of his professional career. So I would love to, I've met him before. In 2016, I met him. But I would love to meet him and just, get to take all the corny prom pictures of him.
Well, he's kind of feuding with your prom date because you have that sign. Yeah, well, Mr. Met asked you to prom, and Noah and Mr. Met have beef. So how's that going to work out?
Well, when I realized that I was wearing his jersey in the pictures with him, I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way. I had no idea Mr. Met was going to be there. So I had I was not able to plan prior to this about what jersey I was going to wear. So I was like, this is going to be the one tweet of mine that he sees. And he says something about that I'm wearing a Syndergaard jersey with Mr. Met. And of course he did. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, Noah, please forgive me.
Don't worry, I'm not too good of friends with your enemy. I can cut that off at any time, right? Hey, so how much Mets gear do you own? Because you're talking about all these jerseys, and you're wearing a Mets gear shirt right now.
I own so much Mets stuff. It's insane. I have so many shirts. I have newspaper clippings. My house key has the Mets logo on it, so that's insane. I have an elf on the shelf, but it's decorated in Mets uniform. So.
My goodness, that's pretty incredible. You are a real super fan, and that's what makes this whole thing worth it for sure. Do you have a dress? Do you have, your plans for prom and everything like that?
I don't have a dress yet. I'm working on it currently. I'm very excited to get a dress because that's the best part about prom, of course. I'm going to hang out with all my friends at prom. I'm not currently looking for a date because I'm very excited to just hang out with my friends and relax after all this craziness.
Have you had people at school ask you to go to prom with you after all of this?
I mean, I think a lot of the people at school, I know a lot of people at school, so they know that I'm not going to stand for just random people asking me. But a lot of people on Twitter will DM me and at me and mention me, and they're like, "Hey, I live on Staten Island. I'll go to prom with you." I'm like, "No, you're a little too late. I'm sorry."
Yeah, good call, man. You totally missed out. Now I'm going with Mr. Met, and he's better than you. That's for sure.
Yeah, of course.
This is awesome, man. This whole thing. What do your parents think about this?
They're excited for me. They like this. We're all huge Mets fans, so they love it.
Do you have one moment in Mets history that stands out to you, a game or, something that you either attended or you saw on TV that you can really wrap your mind around?
Well, this is just a little bit of it. I was born exactly a week to the day of the beginning of the 2000 World Series. So that I think is super cool, even though, I wasn't technically, I was alive, but I couldn't watch the games, so that's the thing. I was actually in Florida during the 2015 World Series, but I remember coming home for the last game, and I was watching it with my whole family, and it was just a great experience for me. And obviously we all know the outcome of that game, but I think that's one reason the Mets are super important to me, because my whole family loves them, and we can watch it together and support such a great team.
Well, it's really cool, Callie, to see your passion come through in all of this. And congratulations. What a fun story. And I hope you have an amazing time at prom. I'll tell you from experience, Mr. Met is a really great date.
Thank you so much. And I hope he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy it, Callie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
I said that in the most innocent way possible, by the way. Mr. Met is a fantastic friend date, so Callie's going to have a lot of fun there. Congratulations to Callie, and have a wonderful prom. Thank you so much for joining us. Really awesome story there. All right, some more mascot love for you today here on Safari Friday. If you're not familiar with the A's mascot, he's a giant elephant, and his name is Stomper, and he's stomping around doing something to celebrate one of people's favorite holidays, Valentine's Day. So he wants to help out A's fans. If you live in the Oakland area and you need some help delivering a message to that secret someone, all you gotta do is hire Stomper to be your messenger. He'll bring a rose and a box of candy to that special someone. So that's kind of cool. If you're into that sort of thing. I don't know that I would want a giant scary elephant delivering me a rose, but I would probably rather get it from Mr. and Mrs. Met. I think that would be pretty cool because they're my favorite. So anyway, all right, so our question of the day surrounds the topic of Groundhog Day, because that's what we are celebrating today. We asked you if there was a baseball moment or memory that you would like to relive over and over and over again, and you guys came out in droves. There's obviously a lot that you would want to hold on to forever, so we're going to run through some of these, but thank you everyone for your submissions. Tim said, "I'm not sure my heart would survive if I tried to relive Game 7 of the 2016 World Series." I'm feeling you, Tim. Those 10 innings took 10 years off my life. I will never forget them, though, and I bet that they were 100% worth it, Tim. Sam said, "Aaron Boone's home run against the Red Sox to send the Yankees to the World Series." Yes, we've seen a lot of that as Aaron Boone is the Yankees' new manager. Bruce said, "The Indians' 22-game win streak, most exciting month of baseball I've ever watched." It was just fun to see the media making it the lead story, absolutely, and the fact that it just kept picking up steam. The guy seemed so relaxed, I think, was one of my favorite parts. And the pitching during that win streak was, oh my gosh, it was perfect. All right, Gary said, being in the left field bleachers, watching Felix Hernandez. On 8/15/2012. That was a pretty nice one there from King Felix. Doan said the Yankees winning the championship, number 27 in 2009. I'm sure, especially if you're a big Yankees fan, that stands out to you. Kay said 1986, the whole season, #Mets. Kay, I know you were a big Mets fan. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Jim, Mitch Williams jumping for joy when the Phillies beat the Braves in the 1993 NLCS. Good for the Phillies that year, absolutely. Shannon Doa chimed in and said Joe Carter's walk-off World Series home run in the 1993 World Series. Oh my gosh. So many amazing, amazing stories that we would want to relive over and over again. Thank you, everyone, for sharing those with us today. And we will keep those memories alive here as we keep talking about baseball all season long. All right, our final story here as we ran through some of your memories. Speaking of love, we want to give a shout out to one of the biggest fans ever of not only baseball, but of the Colorado Rockies. This is one of the most loyal fans. So every year, his name is Lou Dunlap, and he participates in the fantasy camp with the Rockies. And the best part is he wears his age as his jersey number. So there he is, rocking 89. Look at this guy. I mean, he can throw a baseball better than a lot of actual players can. Just kidding, not actual players, but probably better than I can, that's for sure. Last year, he was donning number 90, the 90-year-old, still coming through to fantasy camp. And this year, oh my goodness, Lou is back. He is back in full force, wearing number 91 this year. What a legend. Rock's Fantasy Camp is lucky to have Lou there, and congratulations, Lou, for all that you have accomplished in those awesome jerseys. So pretty cool there. All right, that's going to do it for us today on the show. Happy Groundhog Day, and hopefully we get some signings here over the weekend so we can share some exciting news with you and break it all down on Monday. Either way, watch the Super Bowl, enjoy some delicious food, go Patriots, go Eagles, whoever you root for, and we will discuss it all baseball related on Monday when we return on 1225 Live right here on MLB.com. See you then, everyone. Take care.